In my last few videos, I shared with you a lot of things about the reality of certain job roles, especially the reality of the consulting job role. Because of certain incidents which happened in the last few weeks, this conversation of whether a consulting job role, how is it, the life in that, and whether it is something which is sustainable for you or not, a lot of these conversations started happening, and suddenly students realized that probably there are other alternate ways in which you can get such prestigious work, such prestigious job roles without having to work so hard or without having to work so damn aggressively. That's the point. In this video, I want to introduce to you a new concept which a lot of my students know, which is how can you become an independent consultant. Now, this idea is a very interesting idea because while you know that consulting as a job role is very attractive to you, and probably a question which you may have is that, okay, how do we become a consultant after MBA? This is one opportunity which you would not have even imagined for yourself, that probably even without joining a top consulting firm like McKinsey, Bain and BCG, you can become a consultant who solves business problems, marketing problems, finance problems for clients. That is what an independent consultant would do. I am speaking it from my experience because during my MBA itself, I had started my journey of becoming an independent consultant. So when I was a student at IIM Udaipur, an MBA student at IIM Udaipur, I had already started to do a lot of freelancing and consulting activities. And yes, there is a difference between freelancing and consulting, which is what I'll be explaining in this video. During those 2 years, I had already earned some 3 or 4 lakhs from these consulting and freelancing assignments. And that is why I want to compare both of these things with you, that what it is like being a consultant at an MBB firm and what it is like being an independent consultant. For this, what I do is that I would first take you through what both of these jobs are, what are the challenges of them, and then you will know that, okay, how do these actually compare with each other. The first thing, I'll start off with the ones which you know, which is the consulting job. Now, you would know this. I think you would know this already, that a consulting job is basically a job at a consulting firm. It could be a McKinsey, Bain or a BCG or so many other niche consulting firms and other consulting firms who are also emerging in this. These three are the most famous and sought after ones. Okay. Then what exactly happens? Other big organizations hire these consulting firms to solve their problems, certain business problems. It could be a problem in marketing, in sales, in finance, in corporate restructuring, a lot of those things, HR problems, a lot of problems. And the firm, the consulting firm for which you are working for after your MBA, they have to identify the problem, they have to find out and understand the problem, and then from there, consultants like you, most likely you travel to the client location to further understand the problem, to further inspect and research from the client locations. Your firm could be helping a client which is having a factory and they want to optimize their operations. So for that, obviously you have to be at the factory to actually observe the operations, to gather a lot of insights from there so that the final recommendation which you make is very correct and accurate and actionable. And obviously then the firms which you work for provide the solution to the problem which is there, and the firms get paid for the hours which you are spending, for the hours which the firm is spending on that particular project, or it could also be a lump sum amount. This is usually what you know as a normal consulting job is. Now, one more interesting thing about this which you should know is that there are certain prerequisites for you to get a consulting job after your MBA. So if you were thinking that, okay, anyone can get a consulting job at an MBB firm, that is not true. You need to be of a certain level, certain criteria you need to fulfill as per these consulting firms which are hiring, which is very important. Now, what exactly are these? Broadly, these three things. You need to have an exceptional CGPA. Now, when I'm saying exceptional CGPA, this includes your class 10, class 12 and your undergraduation. Has to be very good. Your academic performance is very important. It has to be at least an 8.8, 9, 8.88, all those kinds. At least 1 or 2 9s should be there. Usually, this is how the consulting firms hire, that the higher the grades you have, the more chances you have to be at that firm. Obviously, you need to have a good work experience, quality work experience aligned to what you want to do, to whatever industry you want to be in. And obviously, if you are a fresher, then your UG college has to be damn good. So good colleges and good academics play the most important role in the shortlisting of it. And now comes a very crucial thing which you need to understand, which is that, what exactly is the reality of the consulting job role. Because if you're evaluating to be in this job role, you need to know that, okay, what exactly are the challenges which you face, which you would have seen in a lot of other videos which I have created. The biggest problem probably is that it has the longest working hours. Your work hours are the longest. This and IBD. IBD is investment banking roles. IB roles and this are the longest working hours. I have known of friends who have not come back to home for 1 or 2 days straight because they had some most important projects which they had to do, and this is a usual for them. So it should not be that you walk into this job thinking that, it's very fascinating and everything, that, because my friends wants to be in this job, therefore I should also be. Nahi. Consulting does not work like that, because the moment you think about consulting as something fashionable and you walk into that job role and you realize that the working hours are huge, then there is a problem. So you need to evaluate it very carefully. The second problem with this is that work travel. And when I'm saying work travel is not just to the best of the places, best of the hotels and everything. No, the travel in a consulting job could be to a tier 2 town, a tier 3 town, where the factory is, where some operation of that organization is. Now, usually how students evaluate a consulting job is because they see these certain influencers online who have made it their entire personality that we are consultants and we travel a lot, and because of that you get influenced about that, okay, consulting is mostly about traveling to such glamorous places. No, I'm not saying that they are doing something wrong. The problem is that you are getting influenced by what they want to show is the best highlights of their life, and that is also okay, but you need to know this reality that if you're getting into consulting, there'll be a lot of traveling, and those traveling could be at the most worst of the places in terms of the climate and everything, and therefore it needs to be something which you need to really account for, because while initially traveling might seem very fascinating and all, eventually it becomes a big headache. And because of that, there is another thing which you need to know. Consulting as an industry is very ruthless. When you have to do something, you have to do it by then. And usually the deadlines are steep, the feedback is very critical, and things need to be executed when they have to be executed, which is very quickly, because after all it is a servicing. It is, you are servicing a client, and that client is spending a lot on you. So these operations, all of the projects which you do are very time critical, and the level of humanity which is there, inside your organization will not be so high. It's a very hardcore work, because if you don't work, somebody else will work, and your growth in that organization will be hampered. It's like that. The environment is like that. Obviously, this, the burnout and the attrition rate is very high. It's probably the highest in consulting. The reason is because people come, they work in an explosion. मतलब एकदम से suddenly उनको लगता है that yes, we have to work. Suddenly they have got themselves burnt out in 1 year or 1 or 2, 3 years, and then they go away. They leave the industry. Hello, I'm not even talking about they leaving the organization. When I'm saying attrition, yes, people leave one consulting organization, they go to another one. But in consulting, in a normal consulting job, the biggest problem is that in 1 or 2 years, people feel so fed up, they leave consulting as a job role altogether. That is the thing. So from that, you need to think about it, whether a normal consulting job, a standalone, a streamlined consulting job, whether this is something for you or not. And obviously the final thing which you need to know is this one, that there is no me time for you. So if you have hobbies, if you're somebody who has a lot of hobbies, this and that, your weekends are gone, your weekdays are gone. I'm not saying all weekends are gone, I'm not saying all weekdays are not yours, I'm not saying that, but mostly walk into your consulting job with this assumption. I need to remind you this, that you need to walk into your consulting job with this one assumption, that your weekends are gone, your me time is gone. It's all the company's hours now, because you will be either traveling somewhere, you will be at the office, you're always thinking about the projects and the final outcomes which you need to give to the clients. Broadly, what you would have actually understood from this is that while consulting, a normal consulting job role is very fascinating, it may not be something which is for you. Now, if that is the case, then allow me to introduce to you the second thing, which is how about you become an independent consultant, and what exactly is an independent consultant all about is what you'd want to know from me. Now, the same 3 things which I shared with you for the consulting job, I'll share for independent consulting. First of all, what is an independent consulting? What does he or she do? Now, here's the thing. So many things. First of all, this independent consultant has built an expertise in one area. Now, when I'm saying one area, it is not just about finance finance or marketing or operations, within finance, within marketing, within operations, you've built one specific expertise in that area. What is that? Second one is obviously you have, okay, so you as a student, you have experienced a lot of projects, a lot of internships to build your experience in that area. How do you get such experience from your MBA? Because you do a lot of internships in that one area, you do a lot of projects in that one area. I'm not even saying that you have to get paid for an internship. It could be a lot of free work which you do for the sake of creating a lot of portfolio for yourself. So the most important word which you need to remember when thinking about becoming an independent consultant, the important word which you need to think about is that stop thinking in terms of resume, think in terms of portfolio. That is what is going to help you earn more. That is that. And from there, the third thing is that then you use these initial projects, you use these initial internships, as I said, as a portfolio, which means you have so much to show for the expertise which you have. You get more projects from referrals of your old clients, from organic activities and all of those things. And probably you could, you should be active on a LinkedIn and a few things which I'll be explaining to you after this. You get a lot of projects because people then start to find out that, okay, this guy is a student, he has an expertise in these fields, and probably we can hire him or her for this project. People want to work with such young aspirational heads. It's very, it is very fascinating for a lot of organizations to do that. And then the greatest advantage is that you work from anywhere. You do not have one office, a specific place. You work from anywhere. You don't even have to travel to a specific place for that. You may, but you can choose to not. That is the very important thing about it. And you choose to work when you want. It's actually a fact. When I was a student at Udaipur and when I used to do consulting, see, this is extremely important. When I was a student at Udaipur, when I used to do consulting, I worked on my hours, because what is fixed is that okay, how much time will you take for a project, and by the end of that you need to give this project, you need to give it, and obviously you'll be having frequent interactions during that time. But it's not that you have to be available for 4 hours each day or like 5 hours each day. No, it's not like that. This is very unlike a job, a consulting job, wherein you're tied down to that one company for those many hours in a day, in a week. That is a very good advantage which you have in this. And again, you earn a flat fee. You earn a flat fee which is usually in US dollars, because you will be a global consultant. I'm not even saying that you work with only the Indian companies. No, work with global companies, work in the US, work in the UK while from your hostel room at an IIM or while from anywhere you are. And not only will you earn a flat fee which is in US dollars, which will get converted to INR, you can also earn an incentive based on the impact which you can create. Now, how do you finalize these pricing and everything? Well, I can help you understand with that. I have an entire program which I do for this, in which I help MBA students become independent consultants and help a lot of organizations, help yourself build an expertise in one specific area. This is so important. And obviously, this is not the same as freelancing. See, what you need to really understand in freelancing and in consulting is that in freelancing, probably you are the one who's also executing the final task. Whereas in consulting, you are being used for your mind, for the kind of strategy which you can plan. You can help the organization find those insights, and then those organizations will execute these projects at their own end. So it is more like that they're hiring you for your mind, for the ideas which you can provide. Obviously, some level of execution may be there, which is what you can do from a faraway place, but mostly it's about what you can do in terms of the strategy which you are creating. Now, again, for a normal consulting job, when somebody asks me that, okay, what is the prerequisites for you to become a normal consultant, I shared with you that it's a lot of CGPA, high CGPA, your work experience, this and that. In this case, it's not like that. The requisites which you need to have is that you need to have chosen one field for yourself, one specific interest. And I'm going further from field. I'm saying choose a niche. So say, for example, within marketing, it could be digital marketing. Within digital marketing in itself, it could be, say, organic or Facebook ads or Instagram ads or a YouTube ads. You're a specialist in one area. As you grow in this field, you need to increase your speciality. That is the idea. Or it could also be the flip of it, that when you start off, build an expertise and start from one particular field and then you expand yourself. It could be that way as well. Then the second thing is obviously work experience has to be there. So now work experience in this case is not about an organizational full-time experience which you have to be, this is a very big advantage in consulting, in being an independent consultant. This is a very huge advantage that you do not have to have a formal work experience. The work experience which you need to have is your projects, is your internships. Your internships and projects can help you earn in lakhs in US dollars. That is the advantage which you have in this, and therefore this is very important for you to know as a option which you have right from right now, even if you're an MBA aspirant. Then what you have to really have to get this work is a growing online presence, which has to be three things. LinkedIn is a must, because that is where most of the companies, the founders are. You should have a blog where you create content about the things which you are an expert in. So when, for example, when I was an MBA student at IIM Udaipur, I had my own blog. In the first year itself, I had I had started a blog on marketing, which helped me get a lot of freelancing assignments from there and all of those things. So this is very important, and it could also be a YouTube channel. Now here is the fourth thing. You need to have structured services and the fixed fee which you need to have. Now obviously, initially when you are a student, it may not be so important, because initially what your idea has to be is that you will do whatever will come your way, which is okay. Initially you cannot go out and say that, okay, this is what my expertise is. No, in one field, once you have finalized a field, get a lot of experience in various things in that field, and then you can build on that. Okay, these are the kind of services which I am extremely great at, and these are the services I can offer. I can give you an example of a student also, and then I will move to some realities of this job role. Now I'll give you a quick example. One of my students was exceptional at making slides, because he was an MBA student. उसको एक काम बहुत अच्छा आता था, उसको slides बनानी अच्छी थी. उसने जो consulting करी वो सिर्फ इसमें करी that, okay, you give me your slides, I will give you a few examples that how you can improve those slides. I will change one or two slides in that so that you can know that, okay, how do we improve the final feel of these slides. Also, if you are interested, I can redo the entire deck, for which I will charge so and so amount. That are the kind of things. So even if you have one or two specific skills, some corporate related skills, you can do that. You can become an independent consultant, and eventually you can fix on your services, you can fix your prices as well. Now some very interesting realities of an independent consulting job role. So while it would have seemed very interesting to you that, okay, wow, I can earn as a student, I can earn in my expertise, and probably I can be called a consultant, because this is what actually is. However, there are certain things which you need to know about it. Firstly, it's not a get rich quick scheme. Consulting, जब आप एक job role लेते हैं, when you sit for the placements, you get a salary of say a 24 LPA or a 26 LPA or even above that. Immediately after your MBA, you have that salary. This is not like that. This is not something that, okay, initially first day onwards, I will get projects worth rupees lakhs and thousands and so many things. No, it may not happen initially. However, if you're smart enough to start this in your first year, even if you're smart enough to start this in your second year, by the time you're ending your MBA, you would be at a place where you would have built some experience in it. And this is something which you can do initially 1 or 2 years with your job as well, provided your job provides you enough samay. The idea is not how much you earn in this case. In this case, what works in the favor of independent consulting, which you need to know, is that it gives you freedom. Think about freedom also. It's very important. Second thing is, what you need to know is that earnings initially for the first 1 or 2 years could be unstable also. There would be some months and quarters in which you would have earned very well and high. For example, there could be a lot of months, and I have to address it like this. There could be a lot of months in which you earn upwards of 1 or 2 or even 3 lakh a month, and there could be certain subsequent ones in which you don't even cross a lakh. This is like that because it's about how many projects, how many clients have you handled, how many active clients you are handling. This is important. However, the more quality work you will have, the more consistent clientele you have, the more longer duration contracts you will have. And the key to doing well as an independent consultant is this: have long-term contracts. I have long-term contracts with a lot of organizations, with a few organizations I should say. That is the key. That is what keeps me stable. That's the idea. That is one of the secrets which in fact I have explained to you already. Now, the third thing is that infinite scale. You can scale instantly in half a year. So while in a job your increment will be a 7 or a 8 or a 10%, in half a year you can double your income, because it is about how much you work, how well you work, how much price can you command? That is that. It's all up to you. The more you improve your skills of work and skills of sales, you can earn so much more in that. Point number 4 is that the reality is you can control the amount of work you want to do. If you want to increase the amount you want to earn, take more clients. If you want to focus on certain other things, decrease the number of clients you're spending or you're having. This is entirely a function of you. So say, for example, if there is a week in which you're not feeling that, okay, I want to work a lot. If you're in a normal MBB consulting job role, you cannot say such things. You have work, you have client projects which you have to, which you have to do. You have constant review meetings on that work. That is not something which you can do. Whereas in this is entirely you. In one word, if I have to explain to you, if in one phrase I have to explain to you, the one phrase which I will use to explain an independent consulting job is freedom. It gives you freedom and it makes you earn in US dollars as well. That is crucial for you. And then the final thing is, which you need to understand, is very simple, that you work with multiple companies. This is probably the biggest USP of this. You're not working with one company now. You're working with 5 brands or 3 brands or 4 brands or I don't know how many brands, different brands. Now suddenly how this helps you is that if you're somebody who's saying that ठीक है consulting करनी नहीं, मतलब ये नहीं करना, जाना तो मैंने यार job में ही है. अगर आप as an MBA student, if you can start this, you're already interacting with 5 companies. By the end of your MBA, you can always choose which company I want a full-time job in. When I was an MBA student at IIM Udaipur, thanks to my freelancing, I had 3 job offers even when my final placements had not started. That's the power of it. So even if you're somebody who does not want to remain an independent consulting for long, think of it as a platform which can give you job, which can give you experience, which can give you money as a student. This is extremely important for you to know. I hope this long video helped you understand how there is something called as independent consulting for MBA students as well, which need not be a consulting job which you have to do. This was very important for me to say this to you. I'll catch you in some other video. Thanks a lot and goodbye.